person here, Michael Kramer, is on our Zoom call.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Yes, so just a quick background. I think everybody's aware, but just to give a little historical context of how we got where we are. So we hired a Finnis to design the project. Their original scope included intersection improvements at Waverly and Madison, and specifically we'd asked them to look at the need for a traffic signal, pedestrian signal, and/or a roundabout, which they did. And after performing their preliminary analysis, they recognized that the roundabout might be the best solution. And we met with council back in December 29 to discuss, and the resulting direction was to move forward with the preliminary analysis of the roundabout, which Finnis did. So on July 20th at council meeting, Finnis, Kristen here, made a presentation to the council recommending the roundabout, and the resulting direction was move forward with the final design, and but also for us to meet with the school and fire district to find out what concerns they might have as well. And then on August 3rd, the governing body indicated there were still some concern about the roundabout, and wanted to basically take a step back and look at it further, and for us to meet with the fire district and the school, which we did on August 19th. We met with them, basically gave them the same presentation we given at council, and discussed their concerns. Which that brings us to tonight, and again, our consultant, Kristen Leathers-Grattan, is here basically to review the previous presentation and maybe provide some additional information, in particular related to pedestrian movements in the roundabout. So with that, I will turn it over to Kristen.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. Get my buttons here. Okay.
And if you could please speak in the microphone.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
The sound gets muffled with the mask, but
Yeah. I'll try to be clear and succinct.
If you
Am I okay to do that?
Because you're socially distanced at the mic.
Okay.
You can actually do that.
Okay. I'll do this then. Thank you. Good evening, all. Here to present the Waverly Road project, as Tim described. Just kind of as a reboot on this, the primary project, the base project, is shown there in blue, which extends from 175th Street to Madison Street. We have got an alternate for the south piece, which would be from US 56 to Santa Fe or 175th. That we're going to look at seeing if we can add that in, as well as an alternate 2, which would extend from Madison up to Fountain Street. All that's all dependent on budget, but we're moving forward with trying to move that, include that in the project. As Tim said, we looked at the traffic study, took counts out at Waverly in March of 2019 while school was in session. Went through a warrant analysis. Signals have to meet certain criteria before they can be recommended. The intersection did not meet warrants for traffic signals, so no signal can be installed. That's just kind of a quick summary of that. Adding signals where they're not warranted can add, it costs money to maintain and install, increase delayed intersections, rear end accidents, and so forth, because it's not expected to be there. Big thing I want to focus on here was with the intersection. What we look at is we grade the intersection and determine what the level of service is. And basically, it's similar to what you get in school, A, B, C, D, E, or F, and it's based on the time or delay that you spend in the intersection trying to get into traffic or to make your traffic movement. A is obviously best. You can get there, stop, and get into the queue of the traffic of wherever you're trying to go. F exceeds 50 seconds. So that means you're waiting at the intersection for more than 50 seconds before you can make your turning movement or enter the street you're wanting to enter. Part of the analysis here, as you can see, is this is the intersection as it functions right now. 2020 is on the left side, 2020 plus the new development that is expected to be there in the next 3 to 5 years or within the next 3 years. You can see the level of service on the west or east leg of the intersection decreases quite a bit, while the other legs function pretty well. the leg there that's by the elementary school and high school, you're exceeding 50 seconds in the morning and 40 seconds in the afternoon. We went through with the improvements we're going to make to Waverly, which is to create a 3-lane section on Waverly, which means it'll have a center turn lane that alleviates some of the delays and functions relatively better. You can see still, though, the left turn movements on Madison still have a significant delay, whether that's in 2020, which is on the left, or on the right is 2040, which is 20 years from now. So it just progressively gets worse as traffic continues to grow and the area develops. Fast forward, just quickly here, we looked at, given that no signals are warranted, so we looked at another solution, which would be a roundabout, and you can see here that the level of service significantly improves. While this is the delay of vehicles, it also improves the performance of just the connectivity of pedestrians through the intersection as well. I want to show a little bit here on this. You can see that part of the benefit of a roundabout is not only that you can keep traffic moving through the circle, but you also have reduced the distance that pedestrians have to cross before they get to a refuge. The crosswalks are offset from the center island of the roundabout where traffic is flowing around, and that's strategic. It's supposed to be that way. What that does is it allows the drivers to have a better line of sight of those pedestrians as they're in the refuge island or getting ready to enter into the crossing. Likewise, it gives pedestrians a better line of sight of where cars are in the traffic circle or the roundabout, so they can see them as they're coming onto the lane that they're getting ready to cross. One of the things is, as engineers, we really rely heavily on federal standards, guidelines, recommended practices. Roundabouts have been a proven safety countermeasure as recommended by the Federal Highway Administration. They've been in place for several years, have continued to improve in performance, and the guidelines are well tested. And I think one of the big things to note is that the Federal Highway Administration does recognize that roundabouts improve safety for all users. That includes pedestrians and cyclists or bicyclists. As far as a proven safety measure, I think the big thing with roundabouts is that it significantly reduces the types of crashes that can result in injury or loss of life. As you know, in a traditional intersection, T-bone, people running a stoplight, running a stop sign, end up in a T-bone, which is much more cause for injury, as opposed to maybe a rear-ended fender bender because somebody doesn't slow down enough and bumps into somebody. There are fewer conflict points in a roundabout, promotes slower speeds. That is one of the key things. A roundabout is a traffic calming device. It is meant to slow vehicles. And part of that, by slowing vehicles, you improve pedestrian safety because the vehicles have a better line of sight. Here you can see in a roundabout on the left side, you can see that you have 8 conflict points for vehicles and pedestrians, whereas in a traditional intersection, you have up to 32 and 24 for pedestrians. So just by the nature of odds, you've reduced the potential for injury, for whether it's for a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or a vehicle or driver. And with that is also the reduce of severity of any injuries or accidents. The refuge island is a nice feature of these that has really come a long way. By being raised, it provides pedestrians a place to cross while looking for traffic on one side, get to the refuge island, and then look the other direction to cross the rest of the intersection. As opposed to if we put this in here the way a traditional intersection is designed for a 3-lane, they're going to be crossing 36 feet of pavement trying to watch traffic in both directions on Waverly because it is not a stop condition. And again, with the slower speeds, vehicles have a better chance of a better line of sight to watch that. This slide here kind of illustrates that. On the left is when you're going at a 15 mile per hour speed, you recognize that you can see pedestrians on the sidewalk, you can see what's coming towards you. a better peripheral of the area. Whereas on the right side, you can see where you have a vision at 30 to 40 miles per hour. You're really focused on where you're going so that you can hit the mark on that and kind of lose sight of what's in the peripheral. So again, the slower speeds improve your line of sight and acknowledge of who's in the intersection or getting ready to enter the intersection. Again, slower speeds are promoted through this. The average speed through this roundabout will be 20 miles an hour. That's, I think, even less than what's posted out there during the school hours. The benefit of that is with a roundabout, because it is a traffic calming measure, the speeds will be slower all day long through that roundabout, not just when the sign is up for during school, when they're coming to school and leaving school. So you get that benefit of the 24-hour a day slower speeds through the intersection where pedestrians are going to be crossing. Here's just a slide to kind of share with you how to walk through a roundabout. One of the things to illustrate is over where 5, 4, 3, 2 are. You can see as you enter whichever direction you're coming into, you look to the side of the oncoming traffic, and the crosswalk is strategically set back from the intersection, because then all those vehicles are watching that crosswalk. They're not trying to figure out how to get in the circle yet. Same with you cross the 2 lanes or the single lane. In this case, where we have a single lane roundabout is what we're proposing. They're just crossing 1 lane. So they just have to look one direction until they get to refuge and then look the other direction to cross that lane. So it really kind of simplifies that, so you're not trying to look both ways and can miss something. It also allows for gaps so they have a more time to cross and so forth. Here's kind of a, okay, thank you. didn't realize it was a video.
Modern roundabouts are also designed to be safer for pedestrians than traditional intersections. Crosswalks are set further back from traffic, allowing drivers to react to pedestrians before merging into the roundabout. The triangular islands between lanes of traffic give pedestrians a safe place to wait if they choose to only cross one direction of traffic at a time. Pedestrians should look for approaching traffic, then walk through the crosswalk to the triangular island. Before continuing, they should look for traffic entering or exiting the roundabout. When it is safe, pedestrians can continue through the crosswalk. Bicyclists can choose to walk their bikes through the crosswalk or ride through the roundabout with traffic. Like vehicles, cyclists must obey the rules of the roundabout as they proceed through the intersection.
Okay. So I know there has been some question about first responders and getting through the roundabout. And we know emergency services is critical so they get there as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. The roundabout is shown that people are supposed to clear the roundabout before they stop, which is at a normal intersection as you would act anyway. We did look at we did revise the median islands to not be so long, that they are just more of a triangle. To shorten those so that would allow the fire trucks to get through, the police first responders to get through easily as somebody pulls over. The other thing with the roundabout is we did run, we have a software called Auto Turn that allows us to run the traffic movement, the turning movement of many vehicles, and fire trucks being one of them. We used the specifications that the fire department provided and ran the truck around the roundabout to make sure it would not encroach on the center island. And we were successful in doing that. We've got the right size in there that would minimize their impact of need for crossing over that center island. Also, the center islands are designed to be mountable. So the curb is a low back curb that you can drive over if you need to, just in case somebody is stalled out in the intersection or so forth, and you need to get around them. You can drive up on that apron. It's a low back curb and has a pavement around that. So with that said, as you keep traffic moving through there, that they can exit the intersection and then pull over to the side. That would allow the first responders to get through the intersection. Again, this just kind of focuses on the reduction and what we have seen with roundabouts and reduction in collisions. Fatality collisions, it's a 90% reduction, which is really significant. I realize this is not a high accident area, but we don't want to create something that's going to cause accidents. And I believe, or what we have seen is when you don't have a signal, and people, or you have a stop condition like this intersection is with or Madison being a stop condition, as they wait longer and longer and longer, they're going to get frustrated, and then that's when they try to shoot the gap and try to get out into traffic. So that's a balance act there, and that's when you have the injury accidents that happen, like a T-bone or a head-on collision. And also you can see that there's a 40% reduction in pedestrian collisions, which is a tremendous benefit to this. These are some of the examples we'd shared with you previously throughout Kansas City. And I know the school district had concerns that these were not exactly the same as the situation at Waverly, or the circumstances there at Waverly. So we found, this is Clear Creek Parkway in Monticello. This is in Shawnee. I believe it's the DeSoto School District. But this corridor has 4 schools, and I may defer to my counterpart, Scott Crane, who actually his children went to school there. He experienced it as a parent, and also can speak a little bit more to the detail about that. But there are 4 schools. They all cross through this intersection to access a middle school, an elementary, 2 elementaries, and a high school. And there's crossing back and forth. The district lines cross over Monticello, which I know was a concern with some of the others, that the boundaries did not call for students to cross the street to get to those other locations. So,
do we have a bigger picture of this so we can see the schools?
no, I don't believe we do. I don't believe we do on this, though. Sorry. But this is one example. It's a single lane roundabout as well, so that is also an apples to apple comparison to what we're proposing at Waverly and Madison.
What's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. To provide some perspective about where the schools exist relative to this location, you can see this pond in the bottom right-hand corner. That's a detention pond serving a subdivision. Just on the other side of this pond is Clear Creek Elementary School, and that would be to the southeast of the roundabout. To the southwest of the roundabout, just a little further down the street, is Mill Valley High School, on the same campus with Monticello Trails Middle School. And then if you take the west leg of this roundabout, and I would guess, making sure there's no exaggeration, it's approximately a half a mile to the next elementary school. All of those schools have boundary configurations such that pedestrians headed toward each of those schools have the opportunity and a need to utilize crossings at this location. Just to give you a little background on me, because I think it's relevant here. I spent 8 years as a city engineer. Before, I spent 12 years as the Director of Design and Construction for Blue Valley School Districts, prior to joining Affinis a little over a year ago. Clear back in my city engineer days back in Manhattan, I was in Manhattan when the first roundabout was installed in Kansas. It was in a residential area. So I've been involved in these conversations for now over 20 years relative to roundabouts. I lived about 3 blocks from this roundabout until January of this year. And I put my 2 kids through this roundabout as pedestrians and as young drivers accessing these schools. Pedestrians during school hours are assisted by a single adult crossing guard at this location. And if you were to tell me that my young child was in some fashion going to be involved in an accident at this location, at this intersection tomorrow, would I want there to be a roundabout there or some sort of stop-controlled intersection? I would pray it was a roundabout. For all the reasons that you're hearing Kristen enunciate to you today, I would believe it's a much safer situation. I would believe my child is going to come out of that situation much more likely without an injury or just an injury compared to the other opportunities that might exist at a more traditional intersection. There may be concerns expressed about queuing and queuing into this roundabout. That situation does occur at the one that's on the screen today. And what it creates is a take your turn mentality. Everybody takes their turn as somebody's entering, the person that's in the roundabout allows them in, then they move forward, the next person comes in. It works very well. It produces traffic flows that continue to support the remaining capacity that exists between this location and the school that's creating that queue situation. Frankly, I don't think it's a stretch to suggest that may create a safer situation, particularly for pedestrians, because it really slows people down there at that location. We've offered the school district adjacent to the one that's being considered this evening the opportunity to discuss additional ways to reduce the queuing lengths that might approach that roundabout. Based off of my experience in Blue Valley School District, we did all we could to reduce queuing lengths out onto public streets for obvious safety reasons. And we know there's some additional opportunities that could be taken advantage of there if the school district would like to consider that. We'd be happy to have those conversations with them.
Can I ask a question real quick? How are we on this with semis? I mean, because that's going to be an issue with intermodal and with semis going around the size one that you have, or just going through the neighborhood for families that are moving.
Right. That is what the truck apron is for, is in those instances when you do have a big moving semi, which is usually what you're going to see in these areas. This is not a truck route necessarily, so you're going to have that periodic where you might have a big moving van come in. It's no different than any other neighborhood where there's a roundabout. They will encroach on that apron if they need to.
Okay.
But that's what it's there for.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've got another question while we're asking questions for the gentleman. What kind of pedestrian volume does this intersection experience during school peak, so preschool and post-school periods?
You're talking specifically pre and post?
Yeah.
It would be what you would typically recognize in a fully developed residential neighborhood. Everything around this area, with the exception of Catholic Church and the school facilities, is all residential, fully built out. There are walkers in this neighborhood at all times during the day, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
On this one that we're comparing here, I just have to say, I don't think it's quite the apples to apples comparison based on the map that I'm looking at, because of the separation or distance between the schools and where the roundabout is.
Okay.
We have those right on top of each other. These are separated down the street, so I don't know that that's exactly the same thing.
Okay.
So,
You're still gonna have the same kind of traffic.
not at the roundabout though, because there's places down the street to cross at. They're not walking all the way up and down the street. There's other spots they could cross.
Yeah, but with 4 schools versus 2, one of them with mostly drivers, I think you're gonna have a higher volume at this one than you are.
I think we were using this really to more illustrate that there are school-age pedestrians that cross this intersection on a regular basis, which is what was one of the school district's concerns, is that the other ones we showed probably maybe didn't generate the right traffic, pedestrian traffic. So that was really the intent of this one.
Okay.
true, it may not be exactly apples to apples, but it expressed that point that we were trying to convey, that it is a safe, it functions safely for pedestrian traffic as well as vehicular traffic. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we cannot take questions right now from the audience or from the constituents. We do have a hearing period, so.
Okay.
Well, I've been the principal here for 14 years, and it was not unusual every year to get a multitude of phone calls from concerned patrons about traffic, backflow, and difficulty in picking up students in front of the building or dropping them off before and after school. For pedestrians, it was difficult for pedestrians to navigate across the two-lane road, which was 159th Street for many years. And then certainly students who rode bicycles or things like that, there weren't sidewalk areas to where they could navigate safely either. There was not very much signage. There wasn't lighting out there to slow traffic or crosswalks.
Yeah, the challenges included all of the safety aspects of operating a high school of 1,600 kids. So the times that the kids are arriving at school at the beginning of the day, as well as when they're leaving the school. Also some challenging circumstances around Friday night football games.
One of the safety improvements, obviously the roundabouts. People are hesitant for roundabouts. They're new, but a major safety issue with roundabouts is they eliminate any left turn movements. Every car is going right. It eliminates any T-bone accidents.
Given the scope of this project, a lot of different players, not only the school district, we went in front of the Board of Education to get their buy-in on the project, but also the parent-teacher organization of Blue Valley High School played a critical role in trying to educate them on what they would see in the future with 2 roundabouts, a very big change for the students and for the parents that have access to that school. So all of those combined created some opportunities for us, and I think our project team did a very good job of communicating with them early and often in order to get this project done.
I think things have improved primarily in the area of safety. So the safety of pedestrians around the area, the safety of drivers, both young drivers as well as adult drivers who move through the area. So we're very pleased with the results.
Drop-off and pickup have improved significantly. And I think the wait time to do either is significantly less than it used to be. You know, we used to have lines on 159th Street, and that's seldom the case anymore. You know, if there's a line, it's right in front of a building, but not out on 159th Street. Just have a much more consistent, careful traffic flow. You've got 4 lanes, so people needing to get through can get through. Those needing to wait and drop off can do that too. And so it's just much more accommodating than it used to be, and safer for everybody, whether it's pedestrian or driver.
So hopefully you saw some of the cues in that were the girl on the bike and some of the pedestrians. And one of the features of this roundabout, while it's a double lane roundabout, which does not necessarily apply with this, but the school district did want to have those the rapid repeating flashing beacons installed that would bring additional awareness to pedestrian movements and things. And I think that's absolutely an option to do on this intersection as well, to bring that awareness as people get used to that. So that's always an option as another feature to add to that.
The central island of most roundabouts has a truck apron to allow easy movement of tractor-trailer trucks and buses. The truck apron is a paved area, usually separated by a mountable curb from the circulatory roadway. It gives trucks and other large vehicles extra room to navigate while still controlling passenger car speeds. This roundabout in Bend, Oregon is used by many tractor-trailer trucks and school buses. The truck apron is nearly flush with the roadway, allowing trailer tires to roll over it. Roundabouts are typically large enough for emergency vehicles to travel fully within the circulatory roadway, as shown here in Encinitas, California. The rear tires of large emergency vehicles, such as fire trucks, can roll over the truck apron if needed. While the curvature of roundabouts increases travel time to navigate the intersection, emergency vehicles often experience similar delays at other types of intersections because queues there are often much shorter. This residential roundabout in Wisconsin is navigated by a fire truck, which does not need to use the truck apron. Truck aprons can be designed with smooth curves, as shown in this Nebraska example. This allows the rear tires of the truck to comfortably mount the truck apron without risking rollover. School buses rarely need to use the truck apron. This Wisconsin roundabout is large enough to accommodate school buses wholly within the circulatory roadway. Trucks can be permitted to use multiple lanes in multi-lane roundabouts depending on the area and level of truck activity. In Wisconsin, where this roundabout is located, state law prohibits vehicles from passing tractor-trailers in a roundabout, but other states have used designs that allow cars to pass trucks. Suburban and rural roundabouts are used by a wide range of vehicles. The truck apron of this roundabout in Wisconsin gets frequent use from tractor-trailers and farm equipment. At this urban roundabout in Greenwich, New York, a truck carrying a mobile home is able to make a left turn without impacting any curbs or signs. Note that escort vehicles enter the roundabout first and block some approaches to allow the truck to safely complete the left turn, but vehicles are still allowed to enter and exit on the approaches that do not conflict with the truck's movement. As the truck begins to exit the roundabout, each approach is reopened to traffic. This roundabout also has a large truck apron to accommodate the front cab of oversized load trucks. Observe how this truck carries a super load through a rural roundabout in Florence, Kansas at the intersection of two major highways. The truck uses a mountable truck apron and splitter islands to navigate. Signs and utilities can be located in normal positions and are not affected by the oversized load. Now compare trucks at roundabouts to trucks at signalized intersections. Observe how this truck carrying an oversized load makes a left turn at a signalized intersection in Ferndale, Michigan. The entire intersection must be closed while the truck completes the turning movement. The advantage of a roundabout is that non-conflicting vehicles can still sometimes enter and exit the roundabout while the truck completes its movement. With proper design and use of the truck apron, roundabouts can accommodate even the largest trucks, buses, and emergency vehicles. Generally, truck drivers and emergency service providers have supported the construction of roundabouts for their superior efficiency and safety over other intersection forms.
Yeah, I know, I just wait long enough, I guess. I'm sitting there thinking the whole time,
Those truck
I should
drivers
just
are
wait until
pretty-
the end and ask my
Yeah,
questions.
exactly.
So as I said, we did run our software with the fire trucks, specifications as well as the school buses, and can easily accommodate them without having to encroach on that center island, but it is there in the instance of the big trucks. Just a couple points that I do wanna just hit on. We landed on the roundabout because it was not only a safe option that for vehicles and keeping traffic moving, and to reduce the congestion at the intersection and future congestion of the intersection, but it's also a safe option for pedestrians, and we've seen great success with this across the country and even here in our own communities with roundabouts and pedestrian safety.